from the moment that he first walked upright. As night fell, and his fear of the dark overwhelmed him, he was calmed by a shadow cast upon the ground by a light, a gentle light, more of a glow, really. What was its source? The great orange ball which belonged to the day had long since set, and no silvery ball had replaced it. Yet there was light, and that shadow, his shadow. He no longer was alone or afraid. He looked left, then right, then behind him. Nothing but blackness. It was then that a new thought emerged, an inner voice, a compulsion really. Lifting his head, craning his neck, back, he looked up. The first astronomer, his lantern, the Milky Way, our galactic plane. Some of us, like him all those millions of years ago, never really looked down again. A poet much greater than me once said, "Though my soul may set in darkness, it will rise in perfect light. I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night." But Earth's denizens are afraid. They have allowed their once sensitive eyes to be blinded by the light of a modern world, Thomas Edison's world. 1 billion light bulbs burn 24 hours, 7 days a week, as do screens of all sizes and shapes, not unlike this one. Billboard signs, movie screens, televisions, video games, desktops, laptops, smart pads, smartphones. They fill our minds with the blessing and the curse of too much information. No longer can we see the Milky Way itself, much less our shadow by its light. And in most of Europe and the Americas, we see no more than a handful of the brightest stars above. People say this makes them feel safe, but it deprives them of their legacy, their place in the universe, and is actually quite unsafe, as it creates blinding glare. And the never-dimming light, the never-ceasing din, robs us of our sleep, confuses our wildlife, increases pollution of our air, and expends countless resources. Our Earth and everything we know is but a pale blue dot. And this third rock is but one of 8 planets orbiting that great orange ball. And this great sun, this inconceivably huge star, which warms our days and gives us life, and is capable of destroying us with a single coronal mass ejection, is but one tiny, insignificant dwarf star in a galaxy filled with hundreds of billions of others, many much larger than our own. And this impossibly vast galaxy is but one of billions of galaxies, each separated by many light years distance. These galaxies comprise our universe, which may also not be the only game in town. Yet knowing all this, we are not humbled. Man's ego remains enormous. Some cast a presence of self-absorption so large it leaves no room for their fellow human beings. My wants, my needs, my dreams, my fears. I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. And this sense of entitlement robs Mother Earth of its treasures without giving back to her, as it continues to eradicate the night sky, depriving future generations of the precious diamonds that once twinkled above. It robs us of our legacy and the profundity of seeing one's own shadow by the light of the Milky Way. Perhaps one day, troubled economies, depleted resources, and health concerns will be the impetus for change and will return the night to us. Until then, please consider the lighting scheme of your home, your business, your community, and I urge you to visit www.darksky.org. Since that day when he first looked up, we've been filled with awe and wonder. What are the heavenly lights? Where did they come from? How long have they been there? How far away are they? And who made them? A big bang? A big guy? Or both? Ah, the quest for answers continues. But from that beginning, mankind has had a desire to record these observations, to document and preserve them, and to study them. A tablet of mammoth tusk, some 30,000 years old, bears the star pattern of mighty Orion the Hunter. The cave paintings at Lascaux bear depictions of the cosmos. Egyptian pyramids are rife with astronomical references. And what society doesn't know? The Pleiades, the Seven Sisters. They and Orion appear in the Old Testament of the Hebrew Bible. Our ancestors created legends and belief systems based on the people, animals, and things they envisioned while connecting the dots of the heavenly diamonds in the dark night sky of old. Some, especially the ancient Arabs, shunned these flights of fancy. Rather than imagining constellation shapes for amusement, they saw individual stars as entities, giving them names like Aldebaran and Vega, studying the times of their rising and setting, their brightness, and by the 9th century, documenting the movement of the sun, the moon, and the 5 known travelers they called planets. From the cave paintings came more detailed sketches, with naked eye observing culminating with the great Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe. Then, at last, the miraculous invention of Jan Lippershey, the telescope. Galileo and those that followed, Messier and Machin, William and Caroline Herschel, Lord Rosse and his great Leviathan reflector, made ever more detailed drawings of what they saw at the eyepiece. Nebulae, gaseous clouds, especially those with a curious spiral structure, demanded explanation, and for the time being, those answers were to remain elusive until Edwin Hubble. A mere 13 years after the first known photograph, View from the Window at Le Gras, was produced in 1826, it was John Herschel, the son of William, who invented the photographic glass plate, what was to become the holy grail for capturing the heavens' photons for 150 years to come. Before it was refined, however, Louis Daguerre, inventor of the daguerreotype, is credited with attempting the first astrophotograph of the moon with his process, albeit unsuccessfully. But in 1840, John William Draper succeeded. The insensitivity of the daguerreotype necessitated a 20-minute exposure of the moon. Today, that can be accomplished in 1/2000th of a second. And in 1880, Henry Draper, yes, John Draper's son used a new dry plate process with an 11-inch refracting telescope to take a 51-minute long exposure of the Orion Nebula, and deep sky astrophotography was born. Finally, a way for astronomers to fulfill that age-old desire to truly record, document, preserve, and study their observations. Telescopes grew larger and more sophisticated. Hypersensitization was invented, rendering the glass plate better at capturing the dim and ancient photons. The same technique would be applied to film, opening the door for amateurs such as Tony Hallis and myself. Still, these processes had but a 2% quantum efficiency and were blind to much of the visual spectrum. Then, in the 1970s, another miracle, the charge-coupled device, or CCD detector. Bell Labs, Fairchild Electronics, Texas Instruments, and finally RCA and Kodak made it a viable instrument. Quantum efficiency is well over 70%, and what's more, they are sensitive to the ultraviolet and the infrared, making them an astronomer's dream. Beginning with the tin type, through the emulsion era, and up to the CCD and CMOS, there has always been scientific analysis, astrometry, photometry, spectroscopy, but the ethereal and exquisite beauty of these images is obvious, and at some point art and artistry entered the room. The 19th century black and white plates of E. Barnard are stunning. Perhaps more than anyone, English-Australian imager David Malin brought the beauty of the cosmos to coffee tables everywhere with his 1999 book, The Invisible Universe. Then came Hubble. Not Edwin, but the tin can which bears his name. Not the largest of mirrors, and initially a profoundly flawed one, but like its namesake, HST, the Hubble Space Telescope, changed everything. Not only has it reaped countless discoveries, but it has lit the imagination of countless people with its visually stunning and aesthetically beautiful images of space. The cosmos, nature, art, music, love. These are the ties that bind us all together as one race. Ground-based telescopes grow ever larger, viewing the universe with ever-increasing resolution, and despite having the disadvantage of looking through the churning atmosphere of Earth, which Hubble does not, adaptive optics can now all but compensate for any introduced distortions, yielding incredibly detailed observations in all ranges of spectra. Located in the far corners of our world, high atop the mountains of Hawaii, Chile, the Canaries, and the American Southwest, where the skies are clearest, steadiest, and darkest. They are man's eyes on the future and the tools with which to solve the mysteries of the cosmos. Right beside the professional, there has always been the amateur. Today, amateur astronomers benefit from the same powerful technologies as the professional. The cooled CCD camera, adaptive optics, the Ritchie Chrétien telescope, and many amateur observatories, both remote and backyard, are working every clear night, whether operated by their owner or by automated software while their owner sleeps. Much more than just taking pretty pictures, they contribute mightily to the search for supernovae, exoplanets, asteroids, comets, and the like in pro-am, professional-amateur collaboration. Some of us are first and foremost artists rather than scientists, and I certainly fall under that heading. While there is science to be culled from our art, for us, not unlike Hubble's outreach, it is more about beautiful colors and shapes, touching souls, and opening minds to the possibilities of infinity. Christian Buhl, Richard Berry, Kunihiko Okano, Rob Gendler, Ron Wadowski, and others have led the way for amateur astro-imagers like myself. They showed us how to use the CCD camera and how to make beautiful art from it. This is what we want to share with you. A glimpse into our small part of the big picture